What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Play-by-Play podcast. We have everything for you today. We have NFL. We got recap of the AFC and NFC Championship. A little bit of a preview, even though it's in 2 weeks, of the Super Bowl coming up. We're going to talk some NFL of the past, NFL for the future, next year, maybe some draft stuff. We're also going to move into the MLB. We'll talk about some free agency, some stuff moving around still. Nobody from the actually the Dodgers did sign somebody. Yeah, they did. We're going to be talking. I'm not sure if we'll end up getting into some NHL stuff. There's some controversial stuff right now with some goalie interference in the NHL, but let's go ahead and move right into the first topic, the king topic, the NFL. We're moving in. There's one football game left, Calvin, and then
two if you count the football. Nobody cares.
we'll get actually. I'll add that into the intro. We're gonna shit on the Pro Bowl ass, but I am. But let's go ahead. Let's go into the recap. Let's go into the barn burner first. Let's talk Eagles, Commanders. Looks like the Eagles took care of that game. The Eagles are kind of who we thought they were in this, as two division rivals going up against each other. How did you feel watching that game? And how did you think about the Eagles?
That's right. It's Cowboys fan wearing the Cowboys jersey, but before the game started, I sit down. My brother's watching football. He's like just getting into it, and I said, "Hey, Cowboys are kind of screwed. Like, these two teams are way better than anything I've seen the Cowboys do my entire life." But the big thing is you just saw who was bigger brother. Like, that's just what it was. The Eagles kind of just bullied the Commanders. Not Jaden Daniels' fault. You have 3 fumbles, I think 2 on offense and 1 on special teams. And all 3 of those fumbles result in touchdowns. So you're never going to win that game. And maybe they don't fumble those balls. I think Zach Ertz was a receiver maybe.
De'Ami Brown?
Yeah, De'Ami Brown fumbled. So Eckler had a fumble, De'Ami Brown had a fumble, and then they had the fumble kick return. None of those fumbles happen. You take away those 21 points, you have yourself a competitive game. So Commanders definitely held their own, even though, yes, they get blown out by 30. That is not at the fault of Dan Quinn. That is not at the fault of Jaden Daniels. That is just, hey, a team was unprepared and couldn't handle the bright lights.
Would you argue unprepared is Dan Quinn's fault, though?
No, I think the Eagles have been there every single year over and over again. The Commanders have not. And the last time they were there, Taylor Heineke was their quarterback. Oh, yeah. So I think it was just a, hey, the Eagles were ready to play. They knew what it took. I don't think those fumbles came from, like, mismanagement of the balls. They're just trying to fight for yards. But Eagles are the bigger brother. And so as a Cowboys fan, I'm terrified of the NFC East. Am I ever going to see a division win again for the next, 5 years, at least 5 years?
Well, not the next 5 years. Not with your Irish.
I don't know what your eyes say. Saquon, it was insane. We'll get to the head coach later. I might have to defend R&I, or we'll get to that later.
I think you saw peak Eagles offense there, right? That's what everyone, especially Philadelphia fans, were wanting all season. We saw all facets of the game were explosive. It just seemed like everything could go their way, and it did. Obviously, it's hard to win a game when you have 3 turnovers. Obviously, not at fault to Jaden Daniels, but fumbles happen. You would like to see maybe the defense light some sort of spark by getting a stop, at least 1 or 2 of them, and instead of giving up 3 scoring drives off those turnovers. But again, it's tough. Commanders were clearly not ready for the lights, not ready for the big show, and the Eagles showed that with A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, that offensive line was the best offensive line in the league. That defense, top 3 defense in the league. They're coming out.
You also happen to have Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, you have guys who are still,
had a crazy game.
Yeah, you have guys that are still, top in their, their position, right? You have Goddard, who's top 10, top 15 tight end possibly. You have Devonta Smith, who's probably a top 3 wide receiver 2, who would be a wide receiver 1 on maybe half the league's teams. So it's pretty impressive to see that they could actually click it together. But now the biggest test is obviously coming in 2 weeks against the Chiefs. Can you do it against the B team?
But what do you think? What do you think there's just something maybe Washington could vote on?
Oh, I think for sure. I think even just after the first playoff win, they were playing with house money. I think I'll be the first to say I didn't expect them winning any games.
Yeah.
Going into the playoffs. But the fact that they won 2, I think that's great. And, for me, 2 of the biggest takeaways, aside from the obvious, Saquon doing Saquon things, I think Jalen Hurts looked really great during that game. For me, that was one of the best showings I've seen from him in, I would say, months, personally. And I think that's a huge characteristic of him being healthy and, being able to move. Obviously, the familiarity with the Commanders being the same offense or same division, man, it might have helped. Some might say it hurts, but might have helped. And then the other takeaway, I just love how aggressive the Commanders were. Time and time again, you saw them going for it, going on fourth down, and hitting for the most part. I love that about a team. It takes nuts. I mean, but I love it. And, it certainly paid off in a few instances. Especially on that opening drive. What was it? 16 up to play. Two minutes score. Got burned at this one.
Aren't you right? Yeah, it was a field goal, but yeah, 2 fourth down.
Yeah, after a series like that, you want to make sure you score a touchdown, but to walk away with points there, kind of kept the morale up.
What an impressive drive. So I definitely think that they should keep that. That's a good thing. But yeah, those are my two biggest takeaways. Obviously, we'll get into the Chiefs and the Super Bowl, but going back game, I really like how Jalen Hurts looked, and I think that the Commanders could certainly build off of this.
I'll tell you who might have been the most mad about. Well, I guess not mad because you go up 7-3, but I bet you the Eagles defense probably would have hoped that it took the Eagles offense like 8 plays to score. You just went 17 plays. You're tired as hell. Kick off 5 in-game minutes, obviously, but 5 actual minutes after commercial where you can roll that 2 yards. You just kill there in first play. Put the helmet back on. You got to go back out there.
The offense is giving them no favor.
No favor.
Hey, that's it. That's when you buckle up your chin strap and you get ready to go again.
Well, I mean, they did too, right? Because the Commanders didn't score on that next drive. I don't think they did. And so, I mean, but that was the Commanders' MO all year was the fourth down conversions. They were just like the Lions.
That was the fumble on the next drive.
Oh, wow.
I feel like that was a Dwayne Brown fumble, maybe.
Sounds about right.
He just fumbled. It was just 4T. I think it was like a second or third play. It was a Brown fumble.
Oh, well, maybe Cook couldn't run it back because he was tired. No. But, all right, guys. Definitely the biggest non-division rivalry in the NFL. Or you'd argue it's higher than some division rivalries now at this point with kind of what's gone on the past few times. The streak has continued. Josh Allen is now still undefeated against Mahomes in the regular season, and Patrick Mahomes is now still undefeated against Josh Allen in the postseason when it counts. Red, I'm curious to see what you see from this game.
I'm kind of happy Josh Allen and the Bills lost, but let me take that hat off. Let me put another hat on. It sucks to keep seeing that the Chiefs win, but it's so hard to deny the force that they are. They find a way to win every single game. They're still talking about little brother, big brother with the Eagles and the Commanders. Josh Allen's still little brother to Patrick Mahomes. They just figure it out. And if you look at the stats statistically, Josh Allen had a really good game. James Cook had a really good game, 2 rushing touchdowns on the ground. But the Chiefs just find a way to do it, man. They just squeak ahead. It just seems like the Bills can't get their number, and it's annoying if you're a Bills fan for sure. It's annoying if you have no skin in the game and you're just a football fan, right? You don't want to keep seeing the Chiefs win. Going for a 3-peat is crazy. Not even the Patriots dynasty could do that.
No.
So it's crazy how we went from that Patriots dynasty, couple years off, even in those couple years. But so the Raiders still won. We get Tampa, and then now we have a new dynasty in KC.
Oh, and by the way, reminder: who did Brady beat in that Super Bowl?
Beat Mahomes, so Mahomes could already have 4. It wasn't for the other dynasty port.
Yeah, exactly. John Allen, I think it's like 9 touchdowns, 1 interception in the playoffs against the Chiefs in the 4 games that they've played. So against the Chiefs, he has 9 touchdowns and 1 pick. You think he'd win one of those games with those stats? Watching that game, I don't know. Obviously all year everybody knew that the Chiefs defense was unbelievable. Mm-hmm. And everybody's like, oh, Chiefs offense looks terrible. Patrick Mahomes doesn't look that great. Travis Kelce, who didn't have a great game, but Travis Kelce hadn't had, an amazing season, whatever. And then all of a sudden they come into the conference final and they're back to scoring 30 plus points again. And you know what's really funny is someone can remind me this, even though I do know the answer. Shoot, the Xavier Worthy.
Was it the Buffalo Bills?
It was the Do you remember who they traded up with to get Xavier Worthy?
What do you think the Bills were lacking as far as weapons this year? You would argue receivers.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Khalil Shakir has been a diamond in the rough. I would think he's really good. Possession catcher.
Yeah.
They made a move for Amari Cooper, but he's just been a ghost since he's been in Buffalo. Talk about that fall off, but it's funny to see what could have been. Xavier Worthy with the freaking cannon arm coming from Josh Allen, like that'd be scary.
I think it just hurts looking at it statistically because you look at Josh Allen's stat line and you're like, wow, he had a great game. And then you look at the scoreboard and it's another loss. And I think close loss. Yeah. And I mean, it's just one of those things where, and this time he actually had the ball in his hands to go and win the game as the win. You can't, I know, maybe you could say it wasn't his fault because of Kincaid. That's for another debate. I would say I would think you should have got it, but you get in that situation where it's 4th and long. Do you really let the game get to that point? But I think it just, sometimes it takes that guts and, when the lights are the brightest, that's when you really got to make that big play. And who knows? Maybe he catches it. Maybe they go down, they score. Maybe we'd be talking differently, but I feel like that's been the story with the Bills this whole time.
Kind of sorry. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I think I talked about it last week. I said, hey, the Chiefs haven't scored 30 points, and that's a big issue. But I feel like if they need to, they can score 30 points. And they needed to, and they scored 30 points. They got the job done. So they were able to get over that 30-point mark for the first time this season, which is insane as they're going to the Super Bowl.
First time since 2022.
Maybe. I don't know. But it's like, we talked about it last week. We could talk about it till we're blue in the face. They just know how to win. The crazy thing is, like, you have Mahomes, who, yes, that's your best quarterback. He rushed for 2 touchdowns. So he doesn't have to beat you through the air. You have Kareem Hunt scoring touchdowns. So it's just, we don't have to be interested. We don't have to be shocked. It's just the Chiefs. It is what it is. It's a well-oiled machine. Don't fix what ain't broke, right? They're going to be able to do the same thing over and over again. If they need to, they're going to score 30. They just know how to win. And we can say it over and over again. And it's annoying. But to me personally, I think the big thing was I didn't notice anything where it was like the refs are in favor of the Chiefs. And now, on the internet, they're saying, hey, look, Josh Allen got the first down on the sneak. Come on. You can tell it was underneath the pile, right? It's hard. You can't tell. That's nothing. That's not a pass interference call. That's not a roughing the passer. So we might see stuff the next couple weeks popping up. The Bills should be in it. The Chiefs just know how to win. That's all it comes down to.
So maybe you, as a Ravens fan, might be able to tell me this too, but obviously the Ravens don't run the tush push. There's only one team that can. That's why the NFL won't ban it. I don't know what happened with the play calling on it, but what happened to Josh Allen lining up an empty and then just running full speed to get like 2 yards? Because I would argue that Josh Allen, if you were to line up in the shotgun and empty, would just
Run into Chris Jones.
Well,
I think they talked about on the during the game is he likes to run to the left side of the center.
Mhm.
Oh, I thought it was to the right. He only runs to the right. Remember, it was one of the left to the right, so he only runs to one side. It's the Chiefs' game plan for that, and the Chiefs have probably the best, if not second best, defensive tackle, and I think that's what the issue is. And he could jump over him, but Chris Jones, I think, is like 6'5", 6'6".
well, yeah, but would you argue that you'd at least give yourself with the fact that those all year were terrible at the touch push. So would you argue that just giving like if you have like third, like they had a scenario where they were 3rd and short, like 3rd and 2, and then 4th and 1 or something like that, and they tried to do the touch push both times, if I'm remembering correctly. It's like, wouldn't you argue that if you just had Josh Allen line up and empty both times, even if he didn't get it the first time, Josh Allen's gonna get you 3 yards if you were to line up to an empty. And the same reason I'm arguing this is if there was like a 4th and or like a 3rd and 2, and now it's a little different, I guess, because Derrick Henry runs so hard, But if the quarterback had to have the ball in their hands, obviously they're not going to touch push it with Lamar Jackson. They're going to snap the ball out of Lamar Jackson that are going outside and then shake like 2 people.
That's the Harper's time. Josh Allen are like different runners. Lamar does that a lot. Where it is a design run in the shotgun. I think.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is like if you can get Josh Allen to the outside, even with like, I'm not saying that like he's gonna bulldoze Chris Jones on it, but what I'm saying is like Josh Allen will fall forward.
Say in hindsight, but yeah, mid-game, your offensive coordinator looking for the right call, right? You tried the search push, it's not working. You saw it against the Ravens. Josh Allen kind of set up. He gashed that saw on first down runs, right? But like Cody said, when you have probably the best defensive tackle in the league, right? Josh Allen's running that ball. It's a lot easier to hone in on it, right? You don't really worry about James Cook like you're worrying about with Derrick Henry, even though James Cook did have a great game. But I think when you're in hindsight, it's easier to say. But in game, is it a misplay call? Probably, but you got to go with what's called. And at the end of the day, if they couldn't get it, they can't execute. They can't execute.
No, I don't think it was a misplay call. I was just saying,
You're saying what entire year option?
well, the entire year, they just went away from the whole
Tush push.
well, they just went away from the whole Josh Allen lining up in like an empty or, like something like that. And it was like running like they almost the entire year, he didn't really do that. I don't know if they're trying to protect him or something like that. But like, I feel like in those have to have it moments, just with the way that their teams build, that's going to be the ball in Josh Allen's hands.
Yeah.
I just figured that gives you the best shot, but I'm also not an offense coordinator or head coach.
And that's why we're studying that.
That's why I'm sitting at a table and dredging it after watching it on,
And we have Twitter and all that. Yeah, we don't get to play football during the week. That's why we sit. That's why I'm in a classroom Monday through Friday.
I drive 10,000 miles a week, but we have, so we recovered both. We went over both.
Yeah.
Now we have a lot of people are saying the most boring Super Bowl. A lot of people saying they ain't watching. That's not going to be true. But
So like people saying, let's watch championship game at Cross All Sports probably.
oh, definitely. No, well, please. The pregame show will out.
Yeah.
The one that's 2 hours before will still have more viewers than any, and there's 7 games, a lot of them. But we have Chiefs Eagles. AJ, how do you think this shakes up? How do you think this all goes between these two powerhouse teams?
I wouldn't put money on this, but I really, I'm like, how do you, whatever you say, I'm saying, I really like the Eagles this year. I think this is finally the time where we see that defense. And I think the O-line hasn't skipped a beat from the last time they played. Obviously Jason Kelsey is really the only main thing that's missing, but they haven't really seemed like they missed a beat. At least this year with the cohesiveness that they have, it still looks great. And I'd Saquon Barkley at the end of the day. When you're running with a running back like him, pounding the defense, I like it because you see Pacheco doesn't really have any juice right now. Kareem Hunt is a little banged up for the last game. Obviously, they'll have some time to heal. But I think taking away that factor, and Mahomes hasn't looked great this year. I like the Eagles in this Super Bowl this year. And you got to remember the last time they played too, Jalen Hurts played a great game.
Yeah.
And I think if that's your biggest, weakness going into this, and we just saw how he played against the Commanders, I like the Eagles this year. Now, am I going to put money on them? No. But if I, between us, I'm taking the Eagles. So I like the Eagles this year.
Yeah, it's one of those things again. It's like, how do you choose against the Chiefs, right? It's the Chiefs. They're going to find a way to do it. And I'm not going to change it this time. I think they do what hasn't been done, right? They do achieve the three-peat. Now, I do think that the Eagles are the best team to give them a run for their money. Clearly, the Eagles have been electric in the playoffs. Obviously, in the regular season, they were, giants, right? No pun intended. But
Sorry, Saquon.
But I think if there's a team that can slow Saquon down, because you're not going to stop him, we're going to slow him down. I think it's the Chiefs. And I think if there's an offense that could pick apart a good defense like the Eagles, I think it's a Patrick Mahomes-led offense. So sadly, as of right now, I would probably take the Chiefs.
I think the Chiefs in the playoffs, since this dynasty started, haven't allowed 80-plus yards or 100-yard game from running back. That sounds right. Or in the playoffs.
I believe it.
Yeah, in the playoffs. So it's going to be difficult, especially with Spagnuolo over there. I mean, he's obviously going to make Jalen Hurts be the one that wins the game for them. I mean, like Red said, you can bring as many pressures as you want. Saquon's still going to get his yards.
Yeah.
How good that offensive line is, I'd argue that, even if you're bringing pressure and even if you're lined up to try and stop Saquon and load the box, Saquon's very good at getting through that first line, and especially if you're loading the box and bringing pressure. There's nobody on the field that's going to catch him. Even if you were a nickel and had a bunch of fast guys out there, I'd argue that there's still nobody that's going to catch Saquon perfectly. So it's going to be interesting. I think for the Eagles to win, Saquon will have to have a massive game, even though Jalen Hurts has played well. Like you said earlier, you got A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert out there, and Jalen Hurts also can run. He's a weapon from back there. So I'm not ready to pick who's going to win yet, even though obviously I can take the easy route because the easier route, I guess, like because the Chiefs are going to inevitably win this game because that's kind of what it feels like. It almost feels like a David versus Goliath, even though the Eagles are very good. Everybody's mindset is like, well, it's just Chiefs, dude. The Chiefs since 19 or something like that when they started, like they're just going to win. That's kind of how it is.
Yeah. Well, for me personally, and I'm going to be somebody who's like on the opposite end, I kind of want to see a three-peat. But I'm such a big fan of like stuff that's never happened before.
Well, the first team to go to a Super Bowl with a 2-peat.
With their chance, yeah, with their chance. I was going to say, don't forget Bills lost 4 in a row. But I love seeing history. I love things that have never happened before. It's things I enjoy. I want to be able to say, oh, I remember when this happened. That was crazy. Because we may never see it ever happen again. And people have gone their entire lives and have passed away and have never seen the chance of this happening. So I love to be on the side of history. I don't care. Now, I think next week we should go more in depth because when you do break it down, who has better DBs? You might say the Eagles. Who has better linebackers? Maybe the Eagles with Braun, but I do like Nick Bolton. Who has a better D-line? Or you're going to pick Jalen Carter versus Chris Jones. That can go both ways. But then on the offense, better offensive line. Eagles. Better receivers. Eagles. Better running back. Eagles. Better quarterback. That's going to be Mahomes still because he's a winner, but Hurts is not a slouch. So I think next week when we go more in depth, there's going to be a lot of stuff that points to the Eagles. Now, as it stands, the Chiefs are the favorite, and I think that's just because of what they've done in the past. But the Eagles do feel like they have a better overall team. And so it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. I'm excited for the game. I think we could be seeing like a low-scoring game just with the defenses, but you still have 2 very explosive quarterbacks. So people are going to try to boycott this game. It's not going to happen. Even if you want to boycott the game, you want to watch Kendrick Lamar at halftime. So it's not going to happen. People are going to watch it. I'm excited. I'm excited to see a three-peat, even though we are getting an Eagles-Chiefs rematch. I love watching history. That's the best to me. I love it.
I wonder if this is the first time, and I'd have to look this up. This is the first time in NFL history where one of the head coaches is the all-time win leader for both franchises. Yeah, because Andy Reid's the all-time leader for. Now Nick Sirianni's pretty fast on his way. I mean, the Eagles have been unbelievable since he got. You won a lot. Yeah, you wouldn't have thought so with the way that a whole lot of people speak about Nick Sirianni. But fun fact, the Eagles have been very good since the guy Nick Sirianni.
I still hate them.
I mean, they're in the Super Bowl. If they're in the Super Bowl, they could lose. They're in the Super Bowl. They could lose this game, and Freeport to Philadelphia is still going to want Nick Sirianni's ass out, and Jalen Hurts too. Yeah, but then if they lost, you'd be incredibly disappointed. I mean, I don't know if you
would I be disappointed. Yes, I would probably be very sad. Maybe shed a tear, but I haven't even had that chance to shed a tear, man. I haven't had the opportunity.
Well, what do you mean? You guys have been in a drought.
We said it multiple times this season. The Jones family is the black cloud over the Cowboys, and there's really nothing you can do about it because they own that bitches. Well, speaking of the Cowboys, right, let's get into the most recent news, apart from what they were saying, the Jones family was saying. You guys got a new head coach.
Yeah.
Stayed in the building with Mr. Brian Schottenheimer. Obviously, legendary family, legendary dad as a coach. And he's no slouch. He's been offensive coordinator in the league a long time.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on it?
Yeah. So immediate reaction, you're just like pissed because hey, Ben Johnson's available. That would be super sick. Hey, we talked to Deion Sanders. I don't know if he's gonna be good, but that would be sick. And then all of a sudden, I get the message: Cowboys hired Brian Schottenheimer. I was like, I didn't even know that was an option. I was like, he wasn't on. Next interview, I immediately showed up. So I was sad too. That's depressing when a coach gets hired and you didn't even expect it. You haven't even done research. You don't even know anything about him besides he was the OC. So I went and looked up a couple things about Brian Schottenheimer. I go, OC for the Seahawks 2018 to 2020. During that time, he made Chris Carson a multi-time 1,000-yard rusher.
So you gonna do the same to Zeke?
Well, I don't care about Zeke. We'll get to there we go. We'll get to running backs and Cowboys. So Chris Carson, multi-time. Now Russell Wilson, who sucks now, but whatever. 2018 to 2020, he went 33 and 15. He averaged 4,000 yards a season. He had 106 to 25 touchdown to interception ratio, averaged 35 TDs a season. That's an elite offense. Some things happened in the middle. He went to the Jags as QB coach for a year, and that guy was Trevor Lawrence's rookie year. They went like 4-11. Who cares? He wasn't the OC. Then he went to the Cowboys, and he was a coach analyst. So he's just somebody who's on the staff. Hey, we respect you. And then from there, he went to their OC. So OC the last 2 years. We all know what happened last year with that team. Dak Prescott goes and throws for 4,500 yards. He has 36 touchdowns, MVP runner-up. They win the division. They get blown out in the playoffs, but I would argue that is not a Schottenheimer fault. That is a defense who let up a touchdown every single drive. So I'm okay with it. But then this year happens, and this year kind of sucks. Did it suck? Let's find out. Cooper Rush made 8 starts. His first start was against the Eagles, best defense in the league. His last start was against the Eagles, best defense in the league. Sucked, whatever. That's the best defense. I don't care. He made...
They also in your division.
But that's Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush is a 31-year-old, longtime journeyman, backup for his whole life. Will never be anything more. Wow. He made 6 starts... Let's be honest.
That's all Cooper Rush deserve that.
I'm about to defend Cooper Rush, so listen to me right now. He made 6 starts that were in between, all right? In those 6 starts, he averaged 250 yards a game. He's threw 10 touchdowns to only 2 interceptions, and he went 4-2. That's a winning record with a backup quarterback, playing games in your division. He had success. Now, I talked about Chris Carson. You said, is he going to make Zeke a 1,000-yard rusher? No. You know who he made a 1,000-yard rusher? 26-year-old undrafted free agent Rico Dowdle. And 1,000-yard rusher. So, was I excited? No.
1,000-yard rusher.
He was a 1,000-yard rusher. You love undrafted free agent, 26-year-old, first ever undrafted free agent, 1,000-yard rusher from the Cowboys. So, was I excited? No. Is there hope? I think there should be hope. We're getting another offensive guy, and that's where the Cowboys thrive, in my opinion. They still have defensive pieces. They still need to work on some stuff, but I think Schottenheimer is actually now looking at it. I'm completely okay with the hire. I'm excited. It's a fresh start.
You're optimistic.
Yeah, you have to be optimistic. You have to be.
Winning 6 games next year is going to hit like crazy.
Listen, McCarthy won 6 games his first year, and what'd he do? 3 straight 12-5 seasons. So it was like Bill Parcells, they let him coach for a long time. And then they went to Jason Garrett. So holy cow, people had so many issues with Jason Garrett. Wade Phillips, yeah. I think that's what I meant. I don't know why I said Parcells. Then they had Jason Garrett. They let Jason Garrett coach for probably way longer than anybody wanted. And then you go to Mike McCarthy, losing record right away. That's okay. What does he reward you with? 3 straight winning seasons, 2 division wins. Unfortunately, only 1 playoff win. Not 1 playoff win. That's on me. And then he loses, and the contract's up. They just don't want an extension. I think there's just a lot of turmoil with the fans. So I wouldn't be surprised if he finishes out. I think it's a 4-year contract if he finishes it out.
Who's DC?
They have a new DC now. I cannot remember if they promoted him or if they hired him. They got though they're looking at Eberflus. I don't think they hired Eberflus. I wasn't sure they hired him. I knew they were talking to Eberflus. I was more worried about Schottenheimer for obvious reasons.
No, he's now DC.
Me personally, I kind of wanted them to try to get Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore, somebody who was with the Cowboys for a while. He has had success in the offense. He knows how to work running game and play action. But I'm okay. I'm okay with Schottenheimer right now. So now, yeah, well, right now we still have to wait a couple seasons, see how that goes.
For me, I just want to keep it nice and short, right?
Yeah.
For that hire, I have 2 words: safe and uninspired.
Yeah.
That's essentially what it is, right? If you're a Cowboys fan, you lose your head coach. Obviously, this season, I'll give you guys a wash, right? Injuries fucking suck. Every team has been through it. Injuries suck. When you lose your franchise quarterback, it's hard to win games at the end of the day. But it is impressive what he did with Rico Dowdle. Obviously, turning an undrafted guy into a 1,000-yard rushers, nothing to scoff at. But at the end of the day, there are so many other options out there and other names floating around that I think were just better. But I also think that, again, it comes down to Jerry Jones, who's the general manager of the Cowboys as well as the owner. I think they know, or he knew, that Schottenheimer is going to pretty much do or be okay with all of his decisions. He's not going to get any pushback from him, right? That's the benefit of hiring a guy that's been in house for
You can listen in.
You get a yes there, right? So to me, it's just too safe.
Yeah.
If you're a Cowboys fan, you got to go. That is a bad job. You got to go for the.
Well, exactly what you're saying, that there were so many other names that seemed like they were better candidates. Yeah, that's why every Cowboys, I have seen so many. So, like, I'm unalive yourself. Like, I've seen so many of those, and it's exactly what you said. There's so many other candidates that you thought were available. You had, but I don't know. It is frustrating. We're just assuming. I will say, like, we're just assuming he's a yes man. Yeah, as you're right. He's somebody who he's been in the team for 3 years. He started as an analyst. He moved up to coordinator. He was everything else fell through. You're still here. You want to be the coach. That's what it feels like, especially because he wasn't expected.
Now let's go to another big hire, right? AJ, I want to get your opinion on Pete Carroll coming out of. A lot of people thought maybe he was done coaching, coming out of semi-retirement, his little vacation, right, to go to the Las Vegas Raiders. How do you feel?
Such an awkward way for him and the Seahawks to kind of separate after all the success that they had. I just don't think they were that far apart from continued success. But, things happen in the NFL. And, now he's the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. I think the quickest way to get this back on track is just adding talent right off the board, and then getting a veteran quarterback. I said, yes, the dynasty that he was able to create with the Seahawks was with a younger quarterback. But I think they just need some stability there. It's been such ugly quarterback play with the Raiders over the last. I mean, I would consider consider Derek Carr really that great. Maybe he had.
He was there was
stable.
Yeah,
he was the last day at quarters. I mean, he had some success, but I wouldn't say it was anything great. Certainly not in the playoffs. Just getting a veteran guy in there, stabilizing what they can kind of start to create there, and kind of go from there. I think maybe this running back draft class is stacked. Load up on maybe 2 guys. The offense that he's always had success with has been running the ball. So I think if we can see him kind of build that, I think they'll be heading in the right direction. So that's how I thought.
Right? What do you think? I think what the Raiders needed the most out of anything, but the way that everything was going with AP, it seemed like a whole lot of people didn't really want to play for AP, whatever. There was a lot of controversy with Devonta Adams, stuff like that, and Max Crosby. I think what the Raiders needed the most was a reset on the whole entire culture they had in that building. And there's no better hire to restart a culture than Pete Carroll in the entire NFL. It's going to be hard for him because his team isn't very good. I believe he's a great coach, Hall of Fame coach. But you're also looking at a division where you're just looking at coaches. You have him, Sean Payton, Jim Harbaugh, and Andy Reid. Wow. You always have the Chiefs in that division. The Broncos look like they're going to be really good, and hopefully the Chargers can pick it up. But I think so too. I think the best thing they can do is just go out there and kind of compete for this first year. I mean, the argument is Pete Carroll is like 73 years old. I don't know how long Pete Carroll is going to coach that team and how quickly he can turn that ship around. But you got to go get yourself a veteran quarterback. Someone like Kirk Cousins, who would play for really small, but he'd play for really small money because the Falcons are paying.
Yeah.
So you could do something like that.
You could see like a Russell Wilson type deal.
It's good.
The Russell Wilson narrative's back.
So that'd be nice. The nice thing for Pete Carroll is he didn't leave Seattle willingly. He said he fought for his job, which is kind of crazy to say because they were still kind of good. But I think that's someone like Pete Carroll's style, the way he likes to run his teams. I think someone, even though he didn't have a really good season, someone like Kirk Cousins would kind of thrive in it. Because Kirk Cousins is certainly in Minnesota fed off the play action. Well, what did Russell Wilson do for the entire time that they were a really good team? It was play action. Now you have to get a good running back to an offense line to be able to have people even buy on the play action. So there's a lot of building to do there. But I could see someone like, like a Kirk Cousins or Russell Wilson, you'd have to pay a little bit more than Kirk or 2 pick.
4 pick. It's Tennessee, Cleveland, Patriots,
And
then actually no. I'm sorry. I think the Giants have the 4 or 5.
Oh no,
That's my only thing is, like, I know we're talking, it feels like Russell Wilson comes back. It feels like Kirk Cousins is an obvious, but it also feels like, hey, if we're top 5 in the draft, are we going to try to take Shador, Cam Ward?
Yeah, but you're not going to be able to get them.
Tennessee, Cleveland, New York Giants, Patriots,
So they're 5.
Jacksonville.
Why are they 6?
Raiders are at 6.
Okay.
Kind of off topic, but we'll get back to Pete Carroll. I think Tennessee, they go for free agency. I don't think they want to completely reset by going with project quarterbacks, right? That's Shador and Camar, right?
Yeah.
So I think they go for like a Sam Darnold. They give Sam Darnold the Baker Mayfield type of deal.
You got to like 1 in 1 year.
Yeah, you give him 2 years, $70 million, right? You pay him $35 million a year, which is kind of like what Baker got. Baker got 3 years of $100 million his first contract there. But then you have Cleveland, who I think with Deshaun out, do they go for Shador too? This player available, which would be Travis Hunter.
Okay.
And then at 3, I could see Shador going to York. So realistically, Patriots and Jags, they're going to go some sort of defense, I'm assuming.
Because they like their quarterback.
Or Patriots will go best wide receiver available because they need some weapons for Drake, right? And then you leave the Raiders, you just don't get that guy. You don't get that franchise quarterback. So this is definitely going to be the year.
Leaves Cam Ward, no?
Oh, it's right.
Well, it does leave Cam Ward, but I honestly don't think the Titans. I think Titans are gonna. If you, I think the Titans would get Shador or Cam.
So it really depends. Or Cam, whatever the Titans do determines, are they going to go out and get an old fart, or are they going to draft to 20?
Yeah, because I actually think that they could double up, and someone like I was saying, he'd go to the Raiders. But someone like with Tennessee, Kirk would work perfectly because you can get someone like him 2-year deal or something like that for $1 million because you're paying he's getting paid by Atlanta, and so you get that, you drop Cam Ward or Shador, and then he learns under Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins didn't have a very good year, but he's also not a terrible quarterback to learn under.
Yeah.
No matter how you spin it, if Cam Ward and Shador are there, or I'm sorry, are not available at 6 for the Raiders, it's all but sure you gotta set your groundwork, right? It's gonna be some sort of line, right? Or offensive, defensive line. I don't see they go running back there. I'm definitely on the train of not drafting running backs that high.
It's offensive line and defensive line first.
Right, you got it. And just back on Pete Carroll, I don't know how people think about this hire. It's so, on one hand, like Brian said, it's a culture resetter, right? A guy who has like class and the name across the league, right? Everyone knows Pete Carroll and how he is as a coach. But then you have guys, on the other hand, you have some of these other young up and coming offensive coordinators that are looking for jobs that you would think, let's do a complete restart. Let's have someone that's young, ready to go, that could actually do stuff. I think Pete Carroll might be a little too old. It's like 74. Yeah. Obviously, you're going to see him rely on his coordinators a lot more. But at the end of the day, it's going to be whether or not they get a quarterback. Yeah, I can see a Kirk going there. I could see Sam Darnold going there. He had that USC connection between Pete and him. Obviously, he didn't play with Pete,
but he probably was in the building at some point.
Right. And yeah, you're going to have something to connect to, right? You want your head coach and your quarterback to be best friends. And then the offense coordinator will come in late. But I think it's all going to depend on who they have at quarterback. And it just sucks that they're in a terrible draft spot. And even if they're top 3 and able to get to one of the top 2 quarterbacks, I don't think they're just guys that you're going to want to build around.
Yeah, so just a heads up, I wrote stuff for all the topics we have in our thing. So I wrote something for the latest too.
But way more research about we're done for this thing.
Carroll to Raiders, gross old man. That's everything I wrote down for Pete Carroll. That's great. That was the entire line. So, like, disrespect. The only thing I could say is Brian's right. It's a culture change. And I think one of the big things when, like, the Legion of Boom came out, Richard Sherman started talking about Pete Carroll, the big thing they said is he is an amazing coach for a college-style team. But once you start getting through the 4th, 5th, 6th year, you're hearing the same stuff over and over again. It's hard to be motivated still. So for somebody who's 73 years old, he probably only has 3 or 4 years in the tank. So that could be a perfect culture. Fix the culture in Oakland, Las Vegas. That was bad. Fix the culture in Las Vegas and get out of there.
All right, peace.
So I think that is the biggest thing is they're hoping he can change that culture because it's just been losing season after losing season. That's all I got to say about that.
All right, so the Jets we'll go ahead and quickly run through the rest of these hires. The Jets kind of went on this merry-go-round. They hired a defensive mastermind who ended up going back to the 49ers, a defensive mastermind, and now they come full circle and hire another defensive head coach. the Aaron Glenn goes to the Jets.
Yeah.
At least I'm going to keep the short sweet. At some point, it doesn't make sense. He's got a lot of stuff to do. It's really hard to ask a defensive coach to figure out what the hell you're going to do at the most important position. Are you gonna does he want Rodgers back? Does Rodgers want to come back? Are you going to go get somebody? Are you going to trade up? It's a lot. It's full plate for somebody that's, I think, a first-time head coach, right?
Yeah.
So it's a full plate for someone like that. It's a terrible situation, which you would expect from the New York Jets. What do you think?
Yeah, so they did hire Salah, who was the defensive mastermind. I think the idea was hiring Glenn, who's supposed to be defensive mastermind, who the Lions were doing great stuff. But I think if you start looking back at what the Lions were doing, was he a defensive mastermind? It kind of allowed a lot of points. Were they hurt? Yes, but at a certain point, if you're giving up 35 a game, even though there are some backups in, are you a defensive mastermind? So did the Jets hire somebody because of the name and not the talent, and that's going to set them back more? Because I don't think he's defensive mastermind just based on what he's put out there. There hasn't been that much great stuff. So I think they're hiring him on the name. Hey, Aaron Glenn was part of a really good football team. He must also be a really good coach. We'll see if that pays off for them. Now, you brought up the quarterbacks. What are they going to do at quarterback? Is Rodgers staying? Is Rodgers leaving? I don't know. That is going to be very tough for him. He's coming into a crap situation. There is talent on the team, so that's always nice to go to a team. A much better defensive coach than Aaron Glenn. Yeah. So what is Aaron Glenn going to do differently? And that's the big issue. I don't think this is going to help them at all.
Maybe have their defense play good because the defense played well under Salah.
It
But
played
she didn't
really
care,
well.
but they
So-
didn't care. So
Well, I don't like this hiring. I don't think it's great, but I don't think anywhere Aaron Glenn would have been great in my opinion. I think you're hiring the name. You're hiring the name and hoping it pays off.
You're going based off of the name. Obviously, he was one of the guys whose name was getting hurled around everywhere for all the open positions. It's so New York Jets to hire Aaron Glenn, right?
Yeah.
If for me, if I was a Jets fan, we're just doing the same thing year after year after year. Rex Ryan, defensive coordinator. Robert Saleh, defensive coordinator. Aaron Glenn, defensive coordinator. Let's change it up, New York.
do they have Todd Bowles too?
Yeah, Todd Bowles,
Todd Bowles,
defensive
yeah.
coordinator.
That's a coordinator. Yeah.
I mean, it's at this point, clearly it's not working. So let's change it up. Let's push for a Ben Johnson. We have, obviously, quarterback is a question mark. Even Aaron Glenn is saying we're going to have talks, and that's pretty much it as far as him and Aaron Rodgers. Does he come back? I don't think so. Yeah. Why would you? But it's Aaron Rodgers. He's a competitor. We'll see. But you have Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, Breece Hall coming off of a pretty bad year. But hey, if you hired a offensive coordinator who can get him the ball in better situations, maybe he revitalizes his career for year 3 or 4, whatever he's in. It's just so like the Schottenheimer hire. I think it's just uninspired. They're too familiar with it.
I mean, I did like his responses in the interviews. They kept asking him about the quarterback situation, and I feel like he did give good answers. But yeah, it's just one of those things where had a Ben Johnson gone there, I think we're looking at a completely different situation. We're like, hey, now look at what we got here. Because that's how I feel about them with the Bears.
Yeah.
Personally. But we'll see. I do think there are going to be question marks because we saw
After the Lions lost some players, that defense was nowhere near the same. And they were really just only built off turnovers, in my opinion. And for me, you can't count on a defense that makes turnovers. You got guys that got to be able to get stops. And turnovers, I feel like, are just too inconsistent with football.
So just to interrupt you, that's 2023 Cowboys. They built that team on turnovers. Also in the playoffs, they don't get turnovers. What happens? You get your mouth kicked in.
Yeah.
So you're exactly right.
So I think for me, you can't build a defense that is going to live and die by turnover because you've seen time and time again that they are not guaranteed. So we'll see. I don't love the hire, but I would look for him to be wrong.
So I'm actually interested in one of the coaching moves, I guess, at least for you, because you have some investment. There was obviously a whole lot of more coaching hires. The Saints still don't got one. That's going to be interesting. You obviously have Ben Johnson going to the Bears. Why am I drawing a blank on his name? Oh, that. But
Coen.
Coen going to the Jags. But there was a certain guy who last year decided to stay one more year to be an OC instead of going to be a head coach. And now he's fired from the Houston
As
Texans.
should be.
Bobby Slowik. What do you think about that? From literally guaranteed slated to be a head coach to get out of our building.
Yeah, I think it was just a very uninspiring offense all year with the weapons that you had. Don't get me wrong, Joe Mixon he had a great season in his first year. Definitely showed that he still had juice. But I think when you're calling run plays when you're 2-10, or second down and 10 or second down and 8, and then the run gets stopped. Now you're third and long. I feel like I can't remember the numbers, but I think the Texans were the highest team that ran like 38 or third and long the most. So when you're putting your offense constantly in the back foot, that's why we saw C.D. Stroud, quote, have a down year. I do put a lot of that blame on Bobby. So hopefully when they get a new OC, I think they're still doing interviews. I would love to see who they bring in, but I think it would have deserved fire. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry for that, Josh. That happened after I didn't edit the thing, but I was curious. You guys want to talk about anything else?
I
You guys
mean,
miss anything?
we could touch on it really quick. Obviously, I think we would all agree Ben Johnson to the Bears is just an absolute slam dunk. And that has to be an A+ hire. Just go based off potential, right? That's a guy who's going to go in there, set the tone. This is my show now. Let's do it my way. And obviously, he has the offensive accolades to back it up. He has a young quarterback who he can mold to fit his scheme and try to achieve, certain goals. You fix up that offensive line. You still have the weapons. You still have the defense, who was spotty throughout the season, but that's fixable. You just got to fix up that offensive line, and you have a really good ball club there. Unfortunately, you play in the NFC North.
Yeah.
You play the Packers, Vikings, and the
Your old
Lions, who lost literally a total of less than 10 games combined. That's
Great.
tough.
3 playoff
Because
teams.
Guess what? You're going to go into that division. You might win 9 games in your first season. You're not going nowhere.
No.
You're 4th.
You actually, at the end of the day, it's still going to come up 4th in the division.
But you like to think that Ben Johnson can get, maybe a win against his former team there. Maybe he sneaks one against, Matt LaFleur and the Packers. So we'll see. It's going to be exciting to watch them. And obviously Liam Coen going to the Bucks. Cody, do you have any thoughts on
Jags.
I'm sorry, the Jags. Yeah. Coming from the Bucks.
I actually like that because I talked about all the
Because he liked his
quarterback
post game or his
Well,
interview. That's why. I don't know if he's a
But
dog.
besides the interview, we've all seen the interview. It's the same thing I talked about with Schottenheimer, but tenfold, because he was the OC for a really, really good Bucks offense, who was led by Baker Mayfield, who was a reject for 3 years. And now we're talking Baker Mayfield as one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, and he's able to make the running game elite, crazy elite with Bucky Irving. So he's somebody who appears to be able to make quarterbacks really, really good. And that's what the Jags need to figure out. They are so invested in Trevor Lawrence. They have to make Trevor Lawrence work. They have no choice. So Liam Coen gives them one of their best chances to make Trevor Lawrence work. And they do have good weapons. You have Etienne, who maybe had a down year, but he's proven he could do it before. And Brian Thomas Jr., oh my God, that was unbelievable feat that came out of nowhere. Even though I know he was a first-round receiver, smash it. That came out of nowhere. So I think that's a perfect signing for the Jags. I love it.
I'll keep mine short. I don't care if it's perfect. It's the Jags. They're going to find a way to fuck it up. They're still going to suck. Trevor, I personally don't think Trevor Lawrence is all that great. You paid a guy. It's like a Daniel Jones contract. You paid a guy.
You pay the guy for the potential.
Yeah.
They're like Cody said, you can't give up on him. You have to. He's the golden boy. He's best prospect for out of the last. Isn't Andrew Luck? That's what they called it.
Andrew Luck.
Except for the fact that by this time, Andrew Luck had already been to a few AFC championships.
Well, at least
He had better coaches. Gone are those days.
Well, he had now secondary coach Chuck Pagano, so maybe you're right. He did.
I mean, and really quick, just to clear off or finish off the head coaching kind of carousel that we have here. Saints, obviously, like you mentioned earlier, still
I wanted to talk about that.
they do not have a coach, no head coach yet. Cody, do you have any thoughts on who will fill that void, or
No thoughts on who's going to fill the void. This is something AJ and I talked about outside of the pod. We were texting about it, and we agreed. It was very obvious they were waiting for someone. And I think they were waiting for Joe Brady. And now Joe Brady has said he's staying with the Bills. So now the Saints are left in a position where, oh crap, we put all our
eggs in that basket? Yeah,
to the Joe Brady saying he's gone. So what are they going to do? And then another thing that AJ and I talked about was, holy cow, this is one of the most poverty franchises of all time. You talk about poverty franchises, Saints are in the dictionary. And there's somebody not, I did some research. Before Drew Brees, they were a team for almost 50 years. Do you want to guess how many playoff appearances they had in 50 years?
I don't know. I'm guessing
I would say less than 3.
Goose.
So they actually had 5. So you guys are underestimating
okay,
that, which is 1 every 10 years. That's pretty good. They didn't make it
It's
in
more
the
like-
80s. They didn't make the playoffs till the 80s. Then they had a few in the 90s, and then they had 1 in 2000. Then Drew Brees comes, and they make 9 playoffs. 2006 to 2020, and they make the playoffs 9 times. And then Drew Brees leaves, and they have been nothing even close to relevant sets. So it is a poverty franchise. So I think that's why Joe Brady said no. I think he probably looked around the organization, said, we have no quarterback piece. I don't want Derek Carr or Spencer Rattler. That'd be a lot of money invested on the defense. So where am I going to spend my money? AKA your best offensive weapon's getting old, or unless you think Olave is your best offensive weapon, who's 5 concussions into his professional career. So I think he looks at that organization, he looks at the team, and he says, I'm going to be a head coach somewhere. I don't want it to be the same.
There's nothing on that team that screams, come coach me, come coach me.
Even after this projected cap bump, they're still going to be 50 million over the cap.
Who the fuck are they playing? Are they
Cam Jordan.
Cam Jordan. Yeah, Derek Carr.
so ugly? It's so ugly.
I mean,
Whoever they pick, congratulations, you made it as a head coach in the NFL. You're probably getting fired next year because you're going to win 3 games.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, you might get Arch Manning, so we'll see.
yeah, but until the Mannings say they pull the whole Eli thing, I ain't fucking going in there.
You know what happened to Arch Manning's grandpa? He played for the Saints and couldn't win any games. There's the Saints were a poverty franchise. So yeah, let's just redo it.
Let's start
You know what
over.
Arch Manning's grandpa's name was? Archie. So yeah, let's redo it.
Let's do the entire thing.
Let's run it back.
Well, and the biggest problem you have is not only do you not have a head coach, the other thing you have to think about is, okay, let's say you go get a head coach. Like let's say they get like Mike McCarthy. If Mike McCarthy wants to coach. Let's say they switch from Joe Brady and go to what it seems like the only reason he hasn't gotten a head coaching gig in the last 5-6 years is because teams are so antsy to hire. They don't want to wait this long.
Yeah.
And they waited this long and they go get like Steve Spagnuolo.
Yeah.
Or try. Right. I don't think he takes that. I think he looks at the situation he has in KC, the situation there. I'm not saying he would take it. I'm just saying in general. Let's just say they get someone like that. Who's gonna be your OC and DC?
He's gonna want to come there.
It's going to have to be
Like just some random guys.
I guess it would be.
Gary.
Oh yeah, good.
Who is their interim?
He was like a special team.
Interim coaches never go into a
He's a good special teams coach, but he's not like
I mean, you realistically want like a Cliff Kingsbury who said, I'm waiting until we're out of the playoffs pretty much to look at the head coaching job. But now, what do you have? Jaden Daniels. You get to coach Jaden Daniels, and everyone gush over
Derek
your
Carr,
offense.
dude.
All right, and then you can wait until next year when inevitably there's 6 more openings, and you get to choose from the pick of your litter there. That would be kind of nice.
I mean, I like that.
But this is going to be, at the end of the day, it's going to be either a journeyman head coach who's been the head coach before, understands the role. Remember what the Texans did before they got D'Amico? They got the GOAT Lovie Smith for a year, got them the worst record in the NFL, and then they got CJ. Right? Second worst. Sorry.
Yeah,
They
second
did
worst.
what they needed to do.
Well, I mean, I don't know what they're gonna do. You're right. That's the worst
It's
organization.
ugly.
That's the.
It's gonna be the worst, Fran.
Shit, the Angels. I don't know where the hell the was at. I looked at the Angels payroll and I'm like, what was it?
No sense. It else. You look at their team and like they have like 2 stars and then they have no money. It's like,
Well, even then, those stars are dying. They're literally.
Well, like,
who are you?
like they don't have a good line, but you're right. It's probably
Hall
all
of Famer,
with Jordan.
Taysom Hill. But like,
Oh wow, they're not paying
They have
Taysom
Ryan
Hill.
Ramczyk, who's a Hall of Fame offensive lineman, right? AK, I don't know if you would say Hall of
No
Fame,
way.
but he's getting some money.
He's
Cam
good.
Jordan is getting some money. Potential Hall of Famer.
I think he is.
Olave, son, take a rest. Take a year off. But there's even talks of him getting traded to the
To
Jets.
the Jets, yeah, because you said that they have Devonta Adams. I think Devonta Adams is a free agent.
I don't even.
I think he can opt out.
All right, sorry, we had a little bit of a malfunction there. We also actually lost one of our. He's dead. He's gone for now, and he'll be back next week. But yeah, I don't know if you guys want to finish up this NFL talk. Maybe I don't think if we were going to go into any more detail about any of the head coaches or anything you guys wanted to do, head coaches wise, maybe something you're excited for next year or anything like that.
Start.
Fresh start. Okay.
I think all 3 of us can say that.
Well, no, we
Shoot for our
can't.
teams.
We can't.
Why not?
All 3 of us did. The Colts brought back the same GM for the
Okay.
8 straight
Fresh
years.
start. Papa. UOC, new playing coaches after me, fresh start.
Well, listen, I did want to say this. It might be a fresh start because I did say this before the podcast started that Anthony Richardson is going to the same laser lab thing that Josh Allen went to fix his accuracy.
I was gonna say, if you want to do a fresh start, you can think another year of Anthony Richardson getting more NFL experience.
Yep.
Fresh start.
Yep. I don't know how much longer they're going to hold on to Anthony Richardson, but this is the big problem. And I'm sorry to go off on a tangent on a team that's literally irrelevant. But this is the biggest problem I have with the Colts is because there's 18 games. They play 17. For 8.5 of those games. I'm like, holy shit, the Colts need to keep Anthony Richardson. He will be a top 5 He will be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. This dude is unbelievable. He might be the best quarterback in the NFL. And then for those other 8.5, I'm like, Jesus Christ, the Colts are never gonna win another fucking game.
But you'll always have a top 3 throw of all time. So you'll always have that.
Well, I guess. I mean, that's just that. The problem is he has those throws, right? The one like he did Texans week 1, right? Those week 1.
Yeah.
And then there's these things where there's these clips where he comes out and there's 2 linebackers on him as he's carrying them into the end zone. He's a fucking quarterback.
Yeah, he's huge.
Like, dude, he's massive. He's huge. And so, like I said, for half the time, and it will go from the game. At the beginning of the game, like the Colts suck. And then Anthony Richardson just turns on the light switch, and the Colts are back. And then they're not. And then they're back. And then they're not. And then they really improved by getting rid of Gus Bradley, who was obviously not that great of a DC for the Colts, and then getting, I believe, Lou Anarumo. Who did he coach defensively last year? The Bengals. They had a really good defense, so we need to go ahead and do
I forgot
that.
you told me about
I
that.
think they did. I think they did. I wrote it on the note because I got the update literally last podcast. I wrote it on the note. I was like, the Colts signed Lou Anarumo.
I said it was yeah, DC from Bengals. Disgusting.
That's so gross. I think they did. They might not have. They might not have. That might be fake news. But it'd be a Colts thing to do. And like I said before the podcast started, I do believe that why am I drawing a blank on his name? Dang it. The GM for the Colts.
Chris Ballard.
Chris Ballard.
Yeah.
Chris Ballard could go 10-7 the next 4 years, and he still wouldn't have a winning record.
Yeah.
Right? Sounds like he should.
Fresh start.
Hey, he's a cool dude. He's a cool dude. In interviews, he's awesome, and he's got that sweet Southern accent. But he's got to. So they can hire somebody else that nobody knows, because that's how GM roles work. Normally, they don't hire anybody. I did want to talk one more thing. Sorry to extend this, but I do believe, I thought I saw in the news that Bob Saleh went back to the 49ers.
Yes, sir.
That's huge. That's huge. I mean, you would always thought he was going to go home, but like that's huge. You could almost expect that defense to pick up right where it left off again. Because I think he's one of those guys that he's going to definitely, like 2 years, when the 49ers are back, he's going to get more head coaching looks. I think he was getting head coaching looks this offseason. And obviously he got fired, but people, I think, assumed that the Jets made a mistake, and it probably wasn't a Robert Saleh problem. Yeah. All right, let's go to the sport that we know better.
Yes.
We might still, spread some misinformation and all that. But we'll go to the sport that
Try out to.
I don't.
everybody does.
Pablo is Oli.
No. So the first thing I wanted to talk about, just because it did make me mad and happy at the same time, is they came out with the top 10 shortstops
MLB Network
in the
top 10
MLB
shortstops.
Network's top 10 shortstops.
Have you seen the list?
No.
You're gonna love it.
You're gonna love the list.
I have a screenshot of this. We know how to look for it.
You don't? Okay, so
I
go
do.
ahead
That's
and
screenshot.
go ahead and lead us in this, and I won't.
Bottom. I mean, they're bottom 5. They're 6 or 10. I think this is great. 6 or 10.
I don't think so. Yeah, go 10. Go 10.
10. So number 10, they got Trey Turner. Trey Turner.
Off
his
year.
streak. Oh, no. Defense put off a ton of errors. The defense obviously has never really been there for Trey Turner. That's always been a big issue. But if you're not going to play great defense, you better hit better than 250 or whatever.
Skills are just going.
Yeah, he's getting older.
Yeah,
So he's still, comparatively to other shortstops, he's still very good. Like, he's equal to Avar from the Rockies. Somebody who
so
could
good.
sneak in.
so good. No,
Spoiler
that's elite defense too.
So that's somebody who I think could have snuck in over Trey, but ranking Trey Turner based on of what he's done before 2020.
Yeah, definitely.
9 is honestly one of my favorite shortstops. To a new team, Willie Adames. He was ranked 8 last year, so he would fall a little bit. But that's because there's some new names on this list. But I love Willie Adames. He was somebody I wanted the Dodgers to get to play shortstop for them. I thought he would have been great. He's 30 home run guy as shortstop.
Power bat shortstop.
That doesn't happen that much. He's not going to hit for average. Who cares when you're getting 90 RBIs and 30 home runs and playing great defense?
Yeah, I was about to say he's got that good. He's got. Never mind. He's
good.
yeah. That's no. He's a very good defender.
Yeah.
Power bat. You know what you're getting. It's a little interesting that he went to San Francisco.
And he seems like a good like club. He's a good club
Personality.
Seems like it.
When you
Him
get all
and
that,
Jesse Winker hate each other, but
I feel like Jesse Winger hates a lot of people.
listen.
Tony Rendon.
All right, so that's 9. That's one of my favorite shortstops. 8 might be shocking to a lot of people just because of how much hype he had. 8 is Ellie De La Cruz.
I don't like this one all that much because you want to talk about defense. Yes, he has the cannon arm and he's got the insane range, but he does make a lot of errors. I'm not a huge advanced stats guy, so maybe there's some of the advanced stats that show that he makes up for those errors. To be honest with you, you also got to look at the situation those errors were in. You know, I don't know how many of his errors cost runs, like legitimately.
Yeah.
But you also, he toned it down a little bit this last year. And I understand he came in halfway through his rookie year, halfway through the season. But he strikes out a lot. He's got that. He's just got all the intangibles to
Just
be
real
an
quick in terms of defense, and they're talking about defense. You wanted to advance that. Baseball Savant ranks him in the 94th percentile for fielding run value. That means he's better than 94% of the league at preventing runs from scoring.
the shortstop.
Shortstop position. So he got ranked, I think it says 11 defensive runs saved for Baseball Savant. So even though he does make the simple errors, the range, the arm strength, the speed makes up for all of it.
See, it definitely does. It definitely does. But the only thing, and maybe this is just a classic view, right? But like, to a degree, you'd rather have a shortstop that's going to field the ground ball right at him in a dire situation of a game. And don't get me wrong, he's incredibly young and he's got incredible talent, and all the intangibles are there for him to be higher on this list.
Yeah.
Now there are a lot of elite shortstops right now, but higher on the list, I think. But right now, I don't know. I know Trey Turner had a little bit of a down year, but if you're going to base it off of what he's also done in the past and what he's capable of doing, I'd argue, putting Trey Turner over him. I'd also argue maybe this is a little bit softer of a take because he doesn't have all the intangibles that Ellie De La Cruz has. But I'd also like to see maybe Ezekiel Tovar over.
We can keep talking about Tovar.
Oh, I love Tovar.
He just has the issue.
I also want to hype him up because I got like 5 signed rookie cards from Ezekiel Tovar. So, but he's a stud, and I'd like to see him. I personally think that if I were to choose between a shortstop that I'd want, hype-wise, obviously you go with Ellie De La Cruz. If I want production at the position, the classic shortstop, you obviously take Ezekiel Tovar.
Yeah. All right, number 7, he was ranked 7 last year, is Carlos Correa. And Carlos Correa, for some reason, I feel like he's somebody that people think is falling off. He had an
He's hurt.
unbelievable offensive year last
He's
year,
hurt.
but he is always hurt.
He's got that Minnesota curse, baby. All those Minnesota dudes can't stay
He's
healthy.
dealing with plantar fasciitis, I believe, right now, and so that's what caused him to miss a lot of time because that's something where you get healthy, but then your foot just kills you, and you have to wait till that pain goes
Albert
away.
Pujols dealt with that for all 10 years with the Angels.
Wow. Yeah. So it's kind of robbed him of being good for them. But that is our 7th. We can talk about just elite offense. That's really what it comes down
Yeah,
to.
definitely. And he's got serviceable defense, I'd say, personally.
Yeah, well, he used to be elite defense.
Used
I
to
would
be.
say he's kind of
With
in
the
that
injuries.
conversation of where it's hit to him, he'll make the play.
Yeah,
He's not going to do
100%.
everything wasn't there.
Well, certainly with his injuries now, he's lost some of his range. But I think he's definitely got that serviceable, basic shortstop defense, which is obviously shortstops are normally more the elite defender.
So number 6 on our list, he's
Hate this
somebody who I don't think he's great, but he was ranked 4th last year. This is Dansby Swanson. So they're ranking Dansby Swanson ahead of Carlos Correa, Ellie De La Cruz, Willie Adames, Trey Turner, and Dansby Swanson had a really bad year at the Cubbies.
This is because he has premium defense, in my opinion. Dansby Swanson is a premium defense guy.
Dansby Swanson's coming off a 240 season with only 16 home runs, still put a 4 WAR, and that's because of the defense.
But also this is the same thing I argued with Ellie De La Cruz. Now, Dansby Swanson was obviously very good in the past. Like I said, he was ranked 4th.
Yeah.
But if I were to go into this year just based off of last year, this is somewhere also I would like to probably have someone like Ezekiel Tovar.
Let's name somebody else.
Well,
Miguel Rojas from the Dodgers.
Well, you would not. You would not. But like, okay, I would argue that if you're going to go off of, it's just offensive production, I guess. But would you rather have someone like that's not on this list, like Xander Bogaerts?
Ugh. That's a Xander is falling off defense.
Well, he
Yeah,
has,
they have no
but
stop for him.
I'm trying to think, or like Bo Bichette, who had a down year too.
That's better. And
But-
I probably a little bit of New York Yankees Volpe.
No,
I don't know. I can't tell if Volpe's
I can't. I was about to say I can't tell if he's good or bad. I'm not gonna lie to you.
All right, so let's move on to number 5 because I love this number 5. So this person was ranked number 1 last year for second baseman.
Yeah.
This is Mookie Betts. This is Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts is now becoming a full-time shortstop.
Oh, is he confirmed?
He is confirmed full-time shortstop. So last year he was going to be a second baseman, and then they said Gavin Lux isn't ready to play shortstop. Move Betts over to shortstop. Betts breaks his wrist, breaks his hand. They put Rojas in at shortstop. Rojas is doing such a good job offensively. He goes back out to right field. But now they're saying, hey, he's ready to be a full-time shortstop. So they put him at 5, which tells you if Mookie Betts is the 5th at shortstop, 1 through 4 are some studs. And
They are.
that's what's been the last 5 to 6 years is shortstop has been such a deep position for baseball, and it's amazing. It's amazing.
I think I'd argue real quick. Sorry to cut you off because I know you're about to go to 4. Four's going to make me.
Most popular.
4's going to make me vomit. I might vomit right here on the table.
Probably we're doing this list right now.
Yes. But Mookie Betts, I think for right now, just because he has such a small sample size at shortstop, the only thing that's stopping him from going higher, one is, like you said, there is very high quality in this, but also you'd argue there's such a small sample size of him defensively.
And it's been
At a-
bad.
At a premium, it's been all right.
Yogi Rose has been bad.
Yeah, well, but that's just learning curve. I mean, Mookie Betts is such an athlete and such a gifted player that you would assume he's going to end up figuring it out.
He
But-
might love it.
I think there's just too many good defensive shortstops.
I think he could do it.
If Mookie Betts wins a shortstop, a Gold Glove, a shortstop for Francisco Lindor, I'm gonna throw myself off.
All right. Let's move on to number 4. And the reason why we're doing this list today is because of this person on number 4. The Shredder has put Bobby Witt Jr. at 4.
Who's top 3? What?
That's that. I think that's all we should say about Bobby Witt. Who in the world is top 3 and Bobby Witt is 4?
Nobody. Bobby Witt's number 1.
Let's move on.
Bobby Witt's number 1.
Let's move on to 3 just so you could figure this out. What happened? What went wrong? Why is it happening?
This guy deserves to be at this spot.
Number 3 is somebody who is he going to put up the best numbers at shortstop every year? No. Is he going to put up the top 5 numbers at shortstop every single year? Yes. And that is Francisco Lindor. So Lindor gets put at 3 because of his premium defense, guaranteed 30 home runs, it seems like now, or at least 25. And he's been doing it for so long.
And he hit 280.
Yeah, and he's hitting for average too. He's stealing bases. So I think Lindor is very deserving to be top 3. Number 2, near and dear to my heart.
This
is
one's
Corey
gross.
Seager. Wow. We're gonna say this one's gross because obviously
This one's only gross because he should be 4, in my opinion. Like it.
And I'm okay with 4, but the reason why he's 2, he's had 3 straight 30
He's got that
home
good
runs.
wood. That's why
3
he's got that
straight
good wood.
30 home run seasons at shortstop. I took a screenshot of all the 30 home run seasons from shortstops. I did not take a screenshot of that. Whatever. It's like Alex Rodriguez had over 30 home run, 3 seasons of 30 home runs. Miguel Tejada, 3 seasons of 30 home runs. More. I think Tejada had 4 of those.
Miguel Tejada?
It could be 50. It could
Yeah.
be 40.
It's like kind of like Albert Pujols. I felt like towards the end of his
And
career, it was about
then I
55.
think it was Ernie Banks, and I'm blanking on somebody. Anyway, there's only I don't know if Rip
Oh,
can
I don't
do-
think Rip can hit.
I don't have home runs over short 30, but so what I'm saying is he's like an elite company or power at shortstop. Yeah, he's an elite company. I have some Bobby Witt Jr. screenshots in here. So let's move on to number 1. And number 1,
This one deserves to be number 2.
very, very good shortstop. AJ's giving me the finger guns right now because number 1 ranked shortstop is Gunnar Henderson, who we can all undeniably say had a very, very good season. Very good season.
Bobby Witt, though.
Very good season. So when we did the starting pitcher one, I know like RB had some mic issues for the starting pitcher one, so I don't know how much of my Zach Wheeler rant you guys heard on the podcast. But I have a little Gunnar Henderson rant. So in defense of Gunnar Henderson at 1 over Bobby Witt Jr.,
You just love to be different, don't you?
I'm just kidding. Bobby Witt Jr. was better in everything. Like literally, Bobby Jr. had higher WAR, more games played, more hits, more RBIs, more stolen bases, higher batting average, higher on base percentage, higher slugging percentage, higher OPS plus. He won the batting title. He won the Gold Glove. He won the Silver Slugger over all of those awards over Gunnar Henderson. So I get it. It's over the past few years, but Bobby Witt Jr. went out and had one of the best shortstop seasons we've ever had, and you're gonna put him 4.
The lefty.
You're telling me, honestly, yeah, number 1's a lefty, number 2's a lefty, number 3's a switch hitter. So that could be the shredder cares about which way you hit. So that's what we wanted to talk about. And I think if we elaborate on this list, we can all agree Bobby was the number 1 shortstop. I always saw that.
100%.
We're talking
It's not
about,
even
I was
close.
talking about shortstops who have power. You know who just became the first shortstop ever with multiple 30-30 seasons back to back? Bobby Witt Jr. Back-to-back 30-30 seasons. And he's doing that at 22, 23 years old. He's going to do this for the next 5 years. He's going to dominate. And he's doing it in
He's gonna do-
Kansas City. I'm talking about like the speed and power. We all know the speed goes away eventually.
Well, yeah, but he's what? He's like
He's
24.
like 24.
Is he Charlotte?
Well, I hope not.
He was 100%.
I hope
He was
not.
just saying the younger days.
Yeah, okay.
And that's perfect compare. He's 1,000% giving us those Trout vibes. He's somebody who is so much better than everybody else right now at such a young age. Such a young age. So I think we can all agree he's number 1. 2, 3, 4 definitely feels like some sort of order of Seager, Gunnar, and Lindor. Gunnar probably 2. And then
I
from
think
there,
so.
We clearly see it. If we're making this list next year, I think we're all hoping Ezekiel Tovar makes it. That's probably our underrated shortstop.
And Zach Netter.
Well,
I like Zach. Zach Neto,
Zach Neto's good.
Zach Neto, in my opinion, is Bobby Witt Jr.
Junior.
Super light. Super light. Instead of doing 30-30,
He's Bobby Witt
doing
Jr. the
20-20, right? Instead of hitting 330, he's hitting like 270. He's doing very good stuff at shortstop. The problem with Zach Neto is if this was 15 years ago, Zach Neto's like a top 3 shortstop. It's right now. The shortstops are.
It's so weird right now. I don't know if we've the talent at shortstop is almost
It's crazy.
unprecedented. I mean, I don't have articles of ball knowledge sitting in my head, but I can't remember the last time that the top 10 or like just shortstops in general were this strong when you're also are like a guaranteed Hall of Famer,
Yeah.
and Mookie Betts is 5th.
Yeah, so I'm curious. MLB is coming out with their top 100 players right now lists. I'm really curious how many shortstops are in like the top 20. Like how many of these guys?
All those.
All those guys are gonna be in the list. But how many?
No,
There's like
it's going to be more than that.
in the top 20.
Go back to that list.
Okay, let's.
Oh, definitely 5. There's going to be 5 arguably. There's going to be 5 arguably in the top 10.
Well, I feel like no top 20. I feel like we're gonna see the top
Correa.
5 in the top 20, and then Correa can maybe scratch it with the injuries. There's a lot of depth in other positions. But it does feel like those top 5 shortstops are also top 20 players in baseball right
Yeah, 5.
You can honestly argue they might be top 10 players in baseball right now.
I honestly
You
think
could.
that you could put all 5 of those shortstops in the top 10.
Yeah, I'm curious. I think it's going to be done by the end of next week or something. How many of those shortstops are in the top 10?
So do you want me to list my personal opinion, my top 10
Let's
shortstops?
do it.
Colin?
Let's do it. No, I'm curious.
All right, don't go to me first. I gotta think. No, okay. So in my personal opinion, this is the first shortstop. No, it's not actually. The best player in baseball, Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, I think our second best player in baseball should be obvious too, in my opinion.
Yeah, Juan Soto.
I hope you're not saying Juan Soto second. I hope you're
No,
going to say Aaron Judge.
It's Aaron
is the
Judge.
second best player
Yeah,
in
the
baseball.
second best player in baseball is Aaron Judge. Third, I will scratch my first shortstop off the list, and I will go. The third best player in baseball is Bobby Witt Jr.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
1,000%.
I'll go
Crazy.
4. That's where I'll put Soto.
Okay.
There's a lot of good players, dude.
I'm a thought for shortstop, so
Well, so I would probably put Gunnar 40 right now.
See,
I'm
I-
100%.
probably you get out of us. Yeah, shortstop,
No, I understand.
but
Yeah. Then I'll put Gunner 5,
Okay.
6. Oh,
So what are you going to do? We're going to start ranking pitchers. We're going to put guys like Scooball and I guess Skeens might be top testing.
I can't put a reliever in the top
He
10.
was that high.
Yeah, I can't put a reliever in the top 10.
How about this, Vladdy? How about this? This is our
See,
moment.
that's what I was thinking about, but I was gonna put him at like 8.
Let's do this. I'm a teacher. Your homework assignment is to make a top 10 baseball players list.
I just did.
You haven't finished yet. I'm cutting you off.
let's
That's crazy.
let's see because
These shortstops are it's premium shortstop. Make a top 10 baseball list.
Guess what? Just like in high school, and then I'm just gonna have the same problem.
And I'm gonna give you 0. But here's the
That's
thing: equitable grading. People know what it is if they're teachers. Equitable grading. You have a million opportunities to get full credit, Brian. You can do it whenever you want. I have to give you.
I don't
full
know if
credit.
that's a good thing.
No, I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just.
We're also
saying
not trying to get Cody
that
fired, so we
there's-
should.
So we can go on from this. I think there's only one more thing we should talk about baseball wise. There are a couple of things on this list. Do we want to talk about Pete Alonso? Let's talk about the Hall of Fame. Let's talk about the guys we get in. Let's celebrate these guys who got in. Let's give them their flowers and then talk about how I don't have the list for next year, but players who didn't make it who should make it next year. So,
David Wright.
well, the three guys made it this year. Congratulations to Adrian Beltre. He had the most votes this year. He got 95% of the. That's the wrong list.
That is the wrong list, boss.
I'm gonna-
Ichiro. All right, don't worry. I got you with that. No, don't cut it. Don't cut it. We're not dropping anything. I got the list for you, I think. We got Ichiro Suzuki.
Ichiro.
I do not have the proof. So Ichiro Suzuki was like 99.9 because one dumbass motherfucker didn't vote for him.
I'll go for you.
And then they got. Oh, I don't know. Do you know? Do you know?
I'm ready.
Oh yeah, CC Sabathia and Tom Glavine. Yeah. Oh, and Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner.
Okay, so now we've all said dumb things, and Josh cut it all.
He did not. He better not.
The 3 guys that got in, the reason why I was so confident was because it was 3 guys. And then I said the first name, and I'm like, that's not right.
That's not it.
Ichiro Suzuki, who had the most votes, 99.7%. He was left off 1 ballot. First year Hall of Famer. CC Sabathia, also another first ballot Hall of Famer. He had 86% of the votes. He's somebody who we agreed was going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think when you start looking at his stats, there are a lot of pitchers who are just as good as him. He gets the 3,000 Ks. That's a lefty mark. And the dominant playoff. And then in his 10th year, his last opportunity, Billy Wagner makes it in. He gets 82%
Thank God.
of the vote.
Let's
That
go.
is huge. That is one of the, in my opinion, that's the most important person to get in the Hall of Fame this year. And it's not because good for Billy Wagner he made it. It's because in the next 10 years, we're going to see guys like Kenley Jansen and Craig Kimbrell hit the ballot. And Chapman. Am I missing anybody? Just those are the big 3, right?
No. The PD.
That's the only issue with Chapman why I left him off. He's got the PEDs. He's got, I think, possible domestic violence, or he carried a gun. I don't know. Chapman's got a
That
lot
wasn't
of stuff.
possible.
But hey, he threw 105 at 37 years old, so that's crazy. But I think Billy Wagner getting in is the most important person because of the Kenley Jansens, because of the Craig Kimbrells, and he could even help somebody like Francisco Rodriguez. Where's he at?
K-Rod?
He's just finished his 3rd year on the ballot. He only got 10% of the votes. But I feel like something that's going to happen is they start comparing his stats to Billy Wagner. Very similar stats. Very similar.
You can compare. Isn't Kirby Bucket Holiday?
Look, it was the Hall of
You can compare Kirby Bucket's Hall of Fame or stats and David Wright's.
So Kirby
stats.
Puckett gets in the Hall of Fame with not great stats because of injuries.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, why wouldn't David Wright be a Hall of Famer?
Because he's
Because of
didn't play
injuries.
a lot. I don't know why he didn't play.
Yeah, he did because he's got 7 backfields. That's why.
Obviously, David Wright will not be in the Hall of Fame.
No, he shouldn't be.
Yeah, so I think I want to get one of your guys' opinion with Billy Wagner getting in. We don't want to talk. Ichiro, CC are slam dunks. With
Well,
Billy Wagner getting in,
I don't think CC should have been a slam dunk, but I don't think so.
so. Let's talk about that then right now. Do you think he shouldn't have been a slam dunk for the Hall of Fame, or you think he shouldn't have been a first ballot?
So I think that CC should have been the guy where we're looking at 5 years on the ballot, and then he gets in convincingly. I think he's one of those guys where, like, for the first year, I think honestly the way I saw it was, he should have been one of the guys where he got like medium 50s votes for the first like 3 years. 4th year, huge push. How many what percent of votes do you need to get in?
75.
Okay, so whatever the percentage is, you're looking at 4th year maybe just misses, and then 5th year gets in convincing.
75% of the votes.
In my
to get
opinion,
in, 5% say.
In my opinion, because there are a lot of guys with comparable numbers to CC Sabathia, and
I think that benchmark is it's coming back. I don't think it's coming back. That 3,000K mark, and especially for a lefty, I don't think we see it very.
Well, we can't see it anymore because of the innings that starting pitchers throw.
But to say it's comparable, I feel like is a stretch.
Well, yeah, but he's also up against other players that pitched in that time. You know what I'm saying? Like, you only pitch when you're like, I'm not going to hold it on a lefty. Like, Tarek Skubal strikes out a shit ton of people. But I'm probably not going to hold it on him if he doesn't get 3,000 Ks because it's a different era. You know what I'm saying? He's not. Now, am I a fan of starting pitchers going out there and throwing 8 innings if they're dominant? Yes. That's how I like to watch my baseball. And CC Sabathia had a sweet quote where he said, he doesn't care if he's 170 pitches in. The only person he's handing the ball off to is Mom. Basically saying, he'd tell his manager, like, get the fuck back in the dugout. I'm not. There's only one person that can come out of that bullpen, even though I'm 150 pitches in, that can come out of the bullpen and be better than me. That's Mariano Rivera. Which is probably true, because I'm not taking away the fact that CC Sabathia deserves to be a Hall of Famer. I don't know if CC Sabathia should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. And I'd be curious, someone that I was looking up right now. I'd be curious to see the comparable numbers between him and someone like Cole Hamels. Both lefties. Both lefties.
Longevity-wise, though, I would say pretty big.
And they both, Cole Hamels won, 2 World Series?
The Phillies, he won 1.
That's it.
That's it, just 2008.
Okay. Wait, so this is his first time going to be on the ballot right now.
Okay, so I do like the comparison.
Yeah. So that's what I was thinking about when I was looking it up. CC Sabathia is a better pitcher than Cole Hamels, right? But
okay, so that's where I think you're wrong. I don't think CC Sabathia is a better pitcher than Cole Hamels. I think he's getting in because of longevity. We think he's a better pitcher because he
pitched for so long.
He did great stuff in the playoffs. We got to give that to him. Cole Hamels won a World Series. CC Sabathia won World Series, right?
Oh, I thought he would.
So he's getting in on he did it for so long.
So that's my question.
Cole Hamels, I don't know how much you guys care about WAR. CC Sabathia had 62 WAR. Cole Hamels had 59. He's only 3 points.
See, that's what I'm saying. Is like, are you sitting here right now telling me confidently that Cole Hamels is a slam dunk first ballot Hall of Famer?
Well,
no. That's why I'm saying that Cole Hamels will end up being a Hall of Famer. He better end up being a Hall of Famer. But I'm just saying, in general, I just don't think CC Sabathia should have been a convincing first ballot Hall of Famer. I think this may be old school or whatever, but first of all, Ichiro should have had 100%.
Yeah.
But second, I think now the big problem with the Hall of Fames, and a lot of Hall of Fames are starting to get like this, is we're letting great players in. There's nothing wrong with being great.
Mm-hmm.
The Hall of Fame is meant to be... No, you're good. You're looking something up. The Hall of Fame is meant to be the greatest players of all time. And there are a lot of people that are starting to either get into the Hall of Fame or have been inducted in the Hall of Fame in the past. I'm not going to name names because I'm not going to rattle off a bunch of names and be wrong on some of them.
That's what Cole Hamels' first year on the ballots next year.
Yeah, that's what's that. Yeah, 2026. And so you're not going to... Kind of lost my train of thought. Thank you. You're not going to... I think that now something that's going to separate people from being in the Hall of Fame and being like the absolute best of your generation during your time is the fact that you have the tag first ballot. And so I think that that's going to be the new Because there are going to be
The
some
new
people,
standard.
the new standard, because there are going to be some people, just like what Deion Sanders said. Deion Sanders legitimately said that he thinks that some people in the NFL Hall of Fame could wear different guys because they were so much better than like the elite of the elite of the elite, what he would obviously wear, right? But I just don't. I think that since you're allowing so many people into the Hall of Fame that are borderline, because they're on the ballot for 15 years, at some point they're going to get a lot of hype and get in. That first ballot's going to be at the end. I don't think CC Sabathia should be in that club. Is basically what I'm saying. That should be like I mean he won't get in, which is stupid. But that should be like A-Rod, Barry Bonds if they would ever let him in. Someone like
Sammy Sosa.
yes, Sammy Sosa, McGuire, but like Mantle, DiMaggio. You know what I'm saying? Like you're talking Pujols. Like that is, you know what I'm saying? That's for those guys. If you're just going to name pitchers like Koufax and Nolan Ryan and all that, sorry. That's and you wouldn't with those guys I named, you wouldn't name CC. So that's what I think should be the case now, since we're going to start allowing a whole lot of people in that are borderline. Because it's nice to have a plaque, but like,
Yeah.
should you really be in the Hall of Fame? Oh well.
Brian's kid is. That was the awkward pause
He's
there.
crying about the fact that people are getting the Hall of Fame.
So I don't want to keep talking about him. We talked about Cole Hamels' comparison. I'm going to look at this ballot. This ballot, you had two left-handed pitchers who have great playoff pedigrees. You have CC Sabathia, who got in on the first ballot, and you have Andy Pettitte, who's in his 7th year and only got 27% of the votes. In terms of WAR, CC 62, Andy Pettitte 60. Very similar. In terms of ERA, CC 3.7, Andy Pettitte 3.8. In terms of wins, CC 251, Andy Pettitte 256. WHIP, CC 1.2, Andy Pettitte 1.3. They are very similar pitchers. What sets CC apart and the reason why he's first ballot, that 3,000K mark. And that's all it comes down to, which is dumb. I agree. But that's what it is.
I do think Pettitte should have absolutely gotten a vote, also that 27%. But I am the 27% though, and having to go another 50 or so. I definitely do think it's a bit of like, will he make that jump? I mean, I certainly hope so. I do think we will get guys like Carlos Beltran next year.
He feels like a long next year.
Well, I think at the end of the day, sometimes you have to look at the positional value, because obviously the best players usually play those cornerstone positions: catcher, shortstop, center field, starting pitcher. And I think sometimes when you look at guys, you have to give love there too. And then I think that's where Beltran comes in, because when you think switch hitters in the game of one, he's one of the elite. So I think when you're a little different sometimes, whether it's positional value or relief pitching, some might say, oh hey, a reliever is just a failed starter. I don't see it that way. No, it takes guts to be able to finish a game off. You're the guy that's meant to close the game.
422 times, yeah.
So it's just one of those things where you have to give love to certain positions, and I think the fact that CC had the 3,000 case and was a lefty, yeah, it was shooing. It was all gonna be shit.
Yeah, it was.
And I don't think he was always the most dominant guy, especially when he got to the end of his career. Obviously, that big lefty kind of just looked like meatballs at the end of it. But when you got that playoff CC, that game where he's going 7-8 innings and he's just mowing those,
Guaranteed. That World Series run was guaranteed. It was going 7.
Alex, he was unhittable. So I think you look at things like that, and for me, I do feel like Pettitte is a very comparative guy. Obviously, the numbers showed as well. So I definitely do hope he gets a big bump. Because when you think of those dominant Yankee teams, he was always in that rotation, 100% healthy, throwing, and you can rely on him to give you a good start. So I do hope he gets a good bump this year.
Yeah. I think we can keep going on Hall of Fame talk. I think you hit the nail in the coffin. Beltran should get in next year. Next year's ballot's very weak, so we should get Beltran. I'm hoping we finally get Andrew Jones. He's still 9% away.
He's looking good though.
He is looking good. He's trending in the right direction with 2 years left. The players that I'm hoping we see big jumps. Jay Utley, he had a huge jump. He's up to 40%. He's somebody who's on the opposite end of CC, where he doesn't have the longevity stats, but like what he did for second base is so dominant.
They're the best.
And so maybe if somebody like Utley gets in, we could see Dustin Pedroia get jumps. I don't see him getting in. But then the interesting one for me, when we talked about Hall of Fame a month ago or so, I said Felix Hernandez is not a Hall of Famer. Felix Hernandez got 20% of the votes his first year on the ballot. And we're now leaving an era with longevity. We're entering an era where pitchers aren't going to throw 200 innings. So does Felix now, every single year, when we see less and less innings pitched by starting pitchers, do we appreciate Felix more and more? So I think next year is for sure Beltran. We're hoping for Andrew Jones to get in. The players towards the end, I think Utley and Felix are going to make huge pushes. Utley's for sure going to be in 5 or 6 years. But I think that's it. And if anything else?
No.
Brian, anything else you want to talk about?
So we won't go more in depth with the 2026 Hall of Fame first ballot stuff because unfortunately all great players, but just good, not Hall of Fame good, and we don't really need to talk about it. The last thing, I don't even think any of us need to even touch on it. The Mets are back in apparently on Pete Alonso, and nobody knows where Alex Bregman is going. And the last thing I will say before we end this is thank God the Dodgers didn't sign another superstar. All right, guys, good night. Make sure you comment pretty much on anything we talked about today. We talked a whole lot of football, a lot of baseball, some controversial stuff, talking about future of some franchises for football, and then some controversial, maybe to some people, some controversial MLB stuff. So let us know if you thought CC deserved to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Let us know what you guys think about the direction of these Hall of Fames are going. If you think that the first ballot tag is going to start being the pinnacle of that. And let us know if you liked the video, hated the video. But either way, like and subscribe. We'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.